Howdy y'all, thank you for joining us today for this unboxing of Marvel Champions the card game. It's the new hero pack of Nebula. As you can see here, this pack is going to contain a 60 card hero pack, which is going to have a complete pre-built deck ready to go straight out of the box, which is awesome if you're just trying to join in with someone. And then 31 new cards that should be added, that can be added to your hero deck. And then it's got the Nemesis of Gamora, which is the opposite of if you play the Gamora deck, then your Nemesis is Nebula. But I'm also expecting to see Gamora as her ally inside of her main deck. So we'll see if that's true. Sorry I haven't done this for a while, but what better way than to get right into a new hero pack. Here we go. I've already pre-cut this. Just in case, if you want to make sure that yours is not tampered with, there should be a seal here, which I've already pre-cut, just so we can get right into this. And let's check it out. So when you open this, there should be a pack of cards, which should be sealed. And then you want to look up underneath this flap, and you want to grab this little thing. Now all this is going to be on one side, a poster, which will be of the same art usually that's on the front there. And then it's going to have any new rules or differences here to let you know if there's something new, but it's very rarely something completely new. Usually that's in something else, like with the other expansions. And then right here it's going to let you know, as we see, this is going to be a Justice deck, which is one of the 4 aspects that it can be. So we're going to see some new Justice cards. One of my favorites to play, so let's check it out. Alright, let's get this sealed thing open. Probably won't go through every single card, but I'll at least go through the ones that I recognize as new ones. Alright. So right off the bat here we have Nebula. Of course, a Guardian. Awesome. She has a 2 thwart, 2 attack, 2 defense. And her ability is a forced response, which I do like responses. And after your turn begins, resolve the special ability on each technique upgrade you control, then discard each technique upgrade resolved this way. So it sounds like she's going to have some technique cards that are going to resolve at the beginning of your turn and then discard them. And then, I was about to say, just like the other Guardians, her alter ego is going to be, well, I guess Star-Lord was different, but Nebula. She's got her 3 recovery here. She's got her cybernetic upgrades. Response, after you play a technique upgrade, draw 2 cards. So it sounds like you want to go into her alter ego. Oh, it's only once per round, I was about to say. But it looks like you want to technique her up in her alter ego so that you can draw some extra cards to do some stuff with. But all right, so the next 15 cards are going to be cards that you have to play with that will be unique to the Nebula deck. And as we figured, since Nebula was an ally in the Gamora deck, now we have Gamora as the ally in the Nebula deck. What we see here for 3, we get us a 2 thwart, 2 attack. And as a response, after you play her, choose a technique upgrade you control and resolve its special ability. So basically, it sounds like hers make you discard. After they're done, this lets you get to use one of those techniques again. And she's 3 hit points. Then we get Nebulous Ship here, which is a resource. Cool. And then we get Cutthroat Ambition, or I shouldn't say a resource, but a support that you can tap for a resource. Cutthroat Ambition, which is one of the technique cards. Lets you remove some threat. Evasive Maneuvering, a technique. Lets you stun and confuse people. And then Unyielding Persistence. Gets her get toughness. And on top of all these, it looks like they give some other stuff. So pretty cool. So it looks like you're going to be putting these on her. It's going to give you that stuff. And then on the next turn, you're going to get, or whenever it goes away with her ability, you're going to get the special. Then we got Weapons Master here. Wide stance. Combat ready. Let you go get some of those techniques. Lethal intent. And you get 3 of those. So that's the 15 cards that you would have to play with no matter which aspect you build into with Nebula. And now we're going to get into the Justice cards. And typically, right off the bat, whatever aspect they're built in, you usually always get 1 or 2 allies right off the bat that are brand new. In this case, we get Eros here. He is a 2-cost ally for 2 hit points, thwarts for 2, attacks for 1. And as a response, after you play Eros from your hand, confuse a minion for each, I think it's mental resource you use to pay for him. I am working on that, but I'm pretty sure it's mental resource. So, pretty cool. Oh man, I already saw we're getting some more allies. We got Wraith here. Man, attacks for 3, but does 2 damage to it. This is the main thing I see here, but for 3, you get a 3 hit point. And when a boost card is turned face up, exhaust Wraith and deal 1 damage to him and cancel that card's boost effect. And then we get Venom, which I was hoping we'd get one that was not Justice, only because then all the Guardians, I kind of want to build that Guardians deck using the Guardians that are all the basics that are from the other decks. But apparently here's our Venom here, and he is a Justice, 4 for 4. He attacks for 2, or attacks for 3, and thwarts for 2, but he does take 2 consequence damage for doing that. And while there is no threat on the main scheme, reduce all consequential damage Venom takes by 1. So if you could thwart off all the scheme, which Justice you're probably going to be doing, he won't take, he'll goes to 1 and 1. That makes him really good. Justice Served, I'm pretty sure this is a new one. After you thwart and remove the last threat from a scheme, discard Justice Served and ready your hero. So there should be 3 of them, because typically if it's a new ally, they give you 1, because you're limited to only having 1 out at a time anyways. And then if it is another card, typically you're limited to 3 to your deck anyway. So typically if it's a new card, they give you 3 new ones. One way or another. 0. Max 1 per round. Search the encounter deck for a side scheme. Reveal that side scheme. Draw 3 cards. So you're going to put out a side scheme, but you're going to get to draw 3 cards. And since you're playing Justice, you're going to be able to get rid of that side scheme probably most likely anyways. So just a way of drawing. I might even look into this card. Determination. It is a resource card. After you spin this card, remove 1 threat from the main scheme. Interesting. So it's a wild resource, but it's going to let you remove a threat just for doing it. So basically it's like having a 0 remove 1 threat. I don't know if that's amazing, but it's only max 1 per deck anyway, so it might be worth just throwing in. Especially as a wild resource. Especially with the Venom deck, because of the way the Venom deck worked, you want to have different aspects, or not aspects, but different resource expenditures. So this lets you use it as a wild, and you're going to get rid of a threat. So maybe worth having. This, of course, is an oldie but goodie that's in pretty much every Justice deck, and it's a max 2 per deck anyways. It's a wild that can be spent as 2 if you use Justice. Brains over Brawn, I'm pretty sure is new. 2. Hero response. After your hero makes a basic thwart, deal damage to an enemy equal to your hero's thwart. So 3 of those. This is an old one, Heroic Intuition, but good way to build up your thwart, especially if you're going to have this Brains over Brawn in your deck. They give us 2 of those. And this is a new, not a new card. This is another of a new card, because it's one that I thought felt a little busted, but not as busted as others seem to think it is. Let's see if it reads the same. When Cosmo attacks or thwarts, name a card type, then discard the top card of a deck. If that card is of the named type, Cosmo does not take consequential damage for this use. So, sounds like the same wording for me. I'll go over it to make sure it's right when I look at the other one, but this is another way to get Cosmo. I think the other one was in the Star-Lord deck, if I remember right, but I've also slept since then. But he is a 2 for 2 hit points. It's a 1/1, which is why I don't think he's as busted as others are saying, but they're talking about certain decks he just seems really broken in, because it does not say which deck you can choose. So now the way some people talk about it online, they say the villain stack is a deck. I disagree. It is 2 cards. So they're saying, oh look, you can discard the whole villain. No, I believe that is a stack. But the way I use him is the Doctor Strange Arcane deck, which you already know what it is because it's always face up. And this, I mean, and most people were like, well, then that's busted because he'll never take consequential damage. But really, it's not that big of a deal because a lot of Doctor Strange's cards you want to have there. So this is just a good way of cycling it. So I just don't think it's all as busted as everyone's saying. But to each their own, I guess. But there's Cosmo, so there's another way to get another Cosmo. That way you can have him in multiple decks if you want. Nowhere. We've seen this before. I think in the Star-Lord deck, or I'm sure it's one of the other Guardian decks. Daughters of Thanos. I do not remember seeing this one in Nebula, but I may be wrong. But if Gamora and Nebula are out, which can happen because they are allies in each other's deck, you get to draw 3 cards for 1. So it seems like a good maybe one of them decks. First Aid, this is an old one, just another way of healing. And then of course you got your Energy, Genius, and Strength, which should be in every deck anyways. And then that is the complete deck. So if you wanted to just buy this deck and play with some friends, you didn't buy the core deck or anything, you could just buy this and you're good to go. And if you want to watch my video, I'm going to do a playthrough where I'm going to play with just this deck. And we're going to see how it pairs up. Now granted, I'm going to play it against Rhino, which is arguably the starter deck in the core box, but I like to also now throw a random encounter in there just to throw it off a little bit and see. But yeah, you can just buy this and you're good to go just to play with other players who already have other core decks or whatever, and see if you just want to try it out, or if you just want to play Nebula and you're cool with just Justice. So that would be the deck you would play with and everything you need. Now the next cards do go with every character. They're going to have an obligation. And in the case with Scarlet Witch, she had 2 obligations. But you will have an obligation here. And this gets shuffled into the villain deck. And if it comes up, it's an obligation you're going to have to deal with. In this case, if this comes up and you're playing Nebula, you're going to have to deal with her inferiority complex. So, and then after that, you're going to have their Nemesis, which we already saw in the back of the box was going to be Gamora. And with, like I said, with the Nebula deck, it was, or with the Gamora deck, it was the Nebula as the minion, or as the Nemesis. But this is just something that if a card called Shadows of the Past, and I don't remember if I've seen anything else yet, but right now I know Shadows of the Past is a way this will come up. Otherwise, I haven't seen another way for them to come out. But yep, you got Gamora here, and it lets you know it's 1 of 5. So like Shadows of the Past will bring this out, and then normally it has a side scheme to where when Shadows of the Past comes out, it says put this into play. Also put their side scheme into play, which this one is self-preservation. And then it has usually some other cards that get shuffled into the deck, which in this case will be Lethal Weapon, Old Rivals, and Old Rivals. And when I say shuffled into the deck, they'll get shuffled into the enemy deck, or the Nemesis deck, the Encounter deck, however you want to look at it. But you would have to have those. And that's everything you would have to have in order to play Nebula. The deck plus the obligation plus the Nemesis cards and whatnot. All right. Then normally in all of these little hero packs, they let you know, hey, that's everything you need. Pretty much everything I told you here. And then you're going to have some cards after this, which are going to be the cards to where if you do have the other stuff, these are cards that are going to usually work with Nebula to help you build into other aspects and still have her deck work with that. Or if you're just buying this as an expansion, it's going to be some extra cards for you to build someone else with these cards. So like a little mini expansion along with getting the hero. And then on the other side of this, they're going to have a checklist, or it's going to let you know this whole deck. So if you like this and you want to rebuild it straight to where you had it, there you go. There's everything listed on this card. And normally it's the other three aspects we're going to see here and then some basics. So we're going to see one card from Aggression, typically, and it's a new one. Energy Spear here. So it's another weapon. And then attached ally gets +2 attack and it gains piercing, which ignores toughness. So, pretty cool. I'm about new weapons, kinda. Oh, but it can only go on a Guardian. So, maybe for that Guardian deck. And then we have one of the other aspects, the Leadership new card. If each of your characters has the Guardian trait, this card gains response. After you play an upgrade on an ally, draw one card. Okay, seems cool. Maybe for that Guardian deck, if I go Leadership. And then we got support here. Our support. We have the Protection card that's going to be new. And it's an alter ego action. Exhaust this card and remove one training counter from it. Choose a protection event in your discard pile and shuffle it into your deck. Okay. Kind of a new way of healing. And your max 2 per deck, so they only send you 2. And then we get the new basic Honorary Guardian. Play only if your identity has the Guardian trait. But this is going to give them a +1 hit point and make someone into a Guardian. So this might be really good for that Guardian deck I want to build, because then I could throw in a couple of extra people and make them Guardians. Especially if I want to throw in some of these Guardian weapons that were in here. The Guardian weapon that was in here, or the Guardian weapons that are in some of the previous game, or hero decks. So that's new, so there's 3 of those. And then it gives you another Daughter of Thanos. So that means most likely it was not in the Nebula, because I do not remember it. So this is a way of just throwing that in, so you have it in the Nebula deck too now if you want to. But cool. Well, like I said, we're going to get this to the table. I will play a run through, and we will play this deck unchanged against Rhino and some random encounters and see how it plays. So join me for that. Thank you for watching and have a great day.